everyone. Welcome to this week's Talking with Our Traders. This space was specifically designed to give our followers exclusive access to our odds makers. Each week we'll be breaking down the action, analyzing the odds, and answering our followers' biggest questions heading into the weekend matchups. I'm the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Craig. Then we have Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading here at Caesars.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Adam. And last but certainly not least, we have our college football expert, Joey Fiesel.
Good afternoon.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Can't complain. We've got a lot of stuff to get into. So we had some pretty interesting questions from Jay Ginsbach at Forbes this week. So let's start with the breaking news this afternoon. The Portland Trail Blazers are trading guard Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks plus 375 are now the favorite to win the NBA Finals according to the book, followed by the Nuggets plus 425, Celtics plus 500, and Suns plus 550. Guys, can you walk us through the odd shifts for the teams involved here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the most focus is going to be on the Bucks since they got Damian Lillard. He's one of the best players in the league, 33 years old, but just a dynamic scorer, fearless. I mean, any team he goes to is going to be a title contender, and obviously that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to compete for a title. Wasn't happening in Portland. Wanted to go to Miami. That's where everybody thought he was going to go. Raptors were talked about, I think, yesterday. Now he's on the Bucks. So obviously the Bucks were one of the top teams as far as the odds go. Went from 9-2 to plus 375, like you mentioned. To win the conference, they're 7-5. Regular season wins 51.5 to 55.5. So Damian Lillard's addition to the Bucks team is obviously huge news. Makes them obviously a bigger title contender than they were before today. So, but a lot of big names in the trade too. The Suns, obviously, they're you mentioned they're one of the favorites. They're getting Yusuf Nurkic, and Grayson Allen's taking a trip down to the Valley of the Sun. So it's a huge trade. When you have Damian Lillard pair him with Giannis and Chris Middleton, that's a pretty solid big three. But looks like the NBA, I don't think it's even a four-horse race. Warriors, 10-1, Lakers right there too. So might be an exciting NBA season, but obviously just huge news. I mean, the guy's one of the best players in the league, and now he's going to get a chance to really compete for an NBA title, which is what he wants.
Yeah, it's interesting the impact of not getting a player, where the Heat went from 6-1 to 25-1.
Yeah, pretty insane.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're a little bit less than a month away from NBA tip-off, so make sure you get those future bet locked in. But I want to talk about something a little bit more seasonable. Let's start with the one and only Colorado Buffaloes. Joey, Colorado has been the talk of college football. They finally lost a football game. And even though we shouldn't be surprised, I feel like people are kind of surprised. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a beating, to say the least, on Saturday. Oregon went there. Oregon, had some passion and wanted to beat them big, and they certainly did. How it's affecting this week's handle, the handle does seem a little lower than in weeks past. Maybe the hype's gone down a little bit, but I expect a majority of the handle we're going to see on Friday, Saturday. Colorado's still a public team, and I expect them being a bigger money line, that the bettors are going to show up. And sometimes when we see a lack of performance, a lackluster performance, we all have a recency bias as bettors, so I expect to see some more two-way action, but I still expect the Colorado bettors to show up.
And that line did move, didn't it?
Yeah. We saw some sharp action. Opened it up 24.5. It's down to 21.5. So actually Colorado's seeing that sharp action. So it's going to be the same line as the Oregon game. The only difference it being in Colorado. And they're going to certainly show up for this game. You're facing Mahomes 2.0 with Caleb Williams. So, it should be a good game. We'll see how really Dion and Coach Prime and the Buffs bounce back.
Yeah, we'll see. And USC struggled last week. I mean, they won by 14, but they led Arizona State in the game pretty much the whole game. They're 35-point favorites almost. And that's an Arizona State team that had so many quarterback issues. They haven't had the best start to the season. So we'll see if that's an indicator of things to come. But, I expect an improved effort for Colorado. Sure.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about the team that did the domination. Ducks dominating performance. What are your thoughts on Oregon moving forward?
Oregon is a very talented team. Bo Nix, which feels like he's in his 10th year of college play. Bucky Irving, very talented running back. And there's really been no stopping this Ducks offense. They've only been tested once so far in Lubbock with the Texas Tech game. Won by 8, but it was a little deceiving because there was a scoop and score at the end. Certainly could have went the other way, but it didn't. They have a very daunting schedule from 14th of October on. 5 top 10, top 25 Pac-12 programs are on the schedule. Washington, Utah, they're going to go to them, so it's going to be a much tougher place to win football games. But they're going to control their destiny from here on out. And getting to the playoffs will not be easiest, but they certainly look the part.
Interesting to see how they come off that dominant win and getting all their clicks this week.
Did you see that speech?
Loved it.
Yeah, it gave me chills for sure.
Yeah. You'd hope there's no letdown coming off such a dominant performance and being the media darlings and all the attention. But as Joey said, that schedule is horrible. Yeah. And there's some real teams in that list.
Yeah.
Jury's still out on them.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. All right, Joey, I have a fun question for you. Is it possible that 2 Pac-12 teams could compete in the playoffs?
Possible, yes. Likely, no. What we're going to see is when all these teams face each other in October and November, you could have a couple 2-loss teams. I mean, these teams are that good. One thing I do think, though, I think it's more likely to see 2 Pac-12 teams than it is 2 SEC teams with the way the SEC has performed in their non-conference schedule so far.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I would think so. It's going to be tough. It's tough to see that happening. But yeah, Pac-12 is definitely showing themselves to be, I don't know if say the best, but definitely one of the best conferences. So many good teams. But we'll see how it shakes out. Everybody's might be beating up on each other, and then we don't know. That's not going to be up for discussion maybe in another month or so. So we'll see. But long way to go in the season. But yeah, the conference definitely looks strong. Sad to see this might be the last iteration of the Pac-12 as we know it. So
very true.
It's nice not to be talking about Alabama, Georgia, and all those teams for January for once.
For sure.
Yeah, that is nice.
Absolutely. Okay, so why does Michigan have shorter odds to win the national championship than Ohio State? Ohio State had an ugly but tough win on the road. What are you thinking, Joey?
Michigan's the better team. It's plain and simple. The Ohio State...
Mic drop.
Yeah. The Ohio State win was certainly ugly. And Notre Dame really gave up on that game. The last play, they only had 10 players on the field. So that didn't show me that Ohio State is somehow better than Michigan. I still think Michigan's the better team, and they have to travel to the big house. At this point, Michigan's the better team, and they are the bigger favorite to win the national championship.
Yeah, Ohio State's offense hasn't looked that good.
No.
Obviously a tough game last week. It's understandable, but even in the lead-up, their offense just hasn't been producing like it normally has. So, but I think Joey's right. Michigan right now seems like the better team, even though Michigan hasn't really been tested yet. But yeah, Michigan has the easier road. Plus, we have some liability on Michigan as well. But it was what Joey said. Michigan's definitely the better team right now, but that could change.
Yeah, the guys are right. It is liability as opposed to probability as well. But as we discussed last week on the questions, who needed the win more? Somebody thought Ohio State needed it more.
Right. Amazing insights as always. Thank you, Joey, and the rest of the gang. But let's move into some Thursday night football. Can you preview Lions versus Packers? Both are 2-1. The Lions are slight road favorite, but Jordan Love has been looking good.
Yeah, no, Love's been solid. I mean, you can't argue with his start. 7 touchdown passes, another rushing touchdown. The Aaron Rodgers era is over in Green Bay, and now it's Jordan Love's team. Looked pretty good. Great comeback last week with the Saints, having the 17-0 lead, and the Packers, coming back in the fourth quarter to win. So, but look, at Detroit, over the years, it's been a house of horrors, obviously, but they've won 3 out of the last 4 games against Green Bay, so things are changing. The Lions are the in team. Or Green Bay sort of laying, everybody thought that, they'd suffer because of Rodgers wasn't there, but Jordan Love looks great so far, so it should be a close game. Line open 2, it's gone down, I think went down a pick, now it's back up to 1.5, so it seems like a close game. Maybe favor the Lions, they should be favored small, but yeah, can't argue with the way Jordan Love has played so far this year.
The Lions should be 3-0. They had an overtime loss against Seattle. The Packers should be 1-2 because of a 17-point blown lead and the missed field goal at the end. I'll take umbrage with your Jordan Love comment. Because
I saw the face you gave me.
Well,
I wish you guys could see it.
You don't. Statistically, Goff's outplaying Love right now. Love's only completing 53% of his passes. He's 24th in the league in passing success rate, where Goff is 5th. And his passing accuracy is low is set at 72.6 on target. I saw that game on Sunday and I was like, he's missing a few wide receivers, hence I took a look. But then I saw today he's leading the league in yards per attempt, which is a good indicator. So, yeah, the jury's still out for me. I'm not going to crown him the new Aaron Rodgers yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the Packers have some ironing out to do on that offense. Obviously, losing Aaron Rodgers is big. There was hype around Jordan Love. They want him to be the guy. But, the Lions are no slouch. Dan Campbell, they should be 3-0, like Craig said. So the line seems appropriate to me, with the Lions having the slight edge on the Packers.
Got it. We have our first game in London this week. Craig, don't know if you've ever been there. Bright and early for us here. Does an international game impact the game total at all?
I was at the very first one with the Giants and the Dolphins, and it rained the whole game. And the under winning.
Of course.
I had to take a point off the total, and when accounting for the international games, because of there is weather always involved. You're going to Europe in October, late September, October. There's travel involved. Yeah, teams now, if it's a West Coast team's travelling, which doesn't apply this week, but they tend to play an East Coast game, then go. So I've always looked at that. The designated home team, so you're giving up a home game to play in London, they're actually 5-7 straight up the last 5 years. Jacksonville's 10th home game in London, they're 4-5 straight up. Unders are 7-4 in the last 5 years. The last 5 years, though, the first half favourites against the spread are 8-1-1. There's no weather yet. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think the weather looks okay for the game this week, so it shouldn't play too much of a factor in, you wouldn't think. But I think last year it had some decent scoring in the London games, but we'll see. Jacksonville definitely can put up some points. Atlanta has a decent defense, so we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I think it's the environmental factors. You're traveling. Some of the players, it's their first time traveling overseas. It's an entirely different environment, being in Europe as opposed to being in the U.S. And I think that adds some distraction. So that certainly could make an impact.
I'm sure they're not being coddled over there. I'm sure their accommodations are top notch.
Yeah, probably.
So we don't feel bad for them.
No.
Okay, let's talk game of the week. We have Dolphins versus Bills. We just saw the Dolphins put up 70 points last week. How do you calculate point totals after a game like that?
There was an adjustment to the line. Opened up 50, now 53.5 to where it sits. But certainly you don't want an overreaction. The likelihood of them actually scoring 70 points in that game was far less than 1%. So you don't want to just jump to conclusions like, they're going to. I'm sure Craig would like them to score 70
this week,
yes. Especially this week playing the Bills. But there's certain outcome of games, a possibility of outcomes, and it's not going to be 70 every week. So you can't overreact that much.
Yeah, I was taught many years ago when I did my thesis on sports betting. You take away the anomalies. So in this instance, especially if you're doing a model based on box scores, for example, that 70 will distort Miami's offensive efficiency, but it also will destroy Denver's defensive efficiency. So you're playing with two different teams then. So I always take the anomalies out. So what I did for when I was calculating my numbers, the Chiefs had a blowout, the Bills had a blowout. I put the Dolphins just slightly higher on that, and then calculated it that way. A good example last year when the Commanders finished the Eagles' perfect season. The Eagles were trying to do the lateral stuff at the end of the game, and Washington got the fumble, carried it across the goal line for a touchdown. I took that off the board. The box score says 32-21, but from when I did the calculations, it was 26-21 as far as I'm concerned. So things that happen out of the ordinary, I just get rid of.
It's an interesting look inside how the model works. Okay, Joey, you talked about no overreactions. Is that why they are still underdogs versus the Bills?
Yeah, that's you still have to stick to your power rankings. The Bills so far, they had this struggling first week with the Jets. Then they kind of took care of lesser opponents. I think the only thing here that's separating the team is home field advantage. I don't see much of obviously the Dolphins are great, but we're not going to just throw the Bills out. They still performed that second and third week. So I think the line's about right. Just the only difference factor is played in Buffalo.
The difference to me is the Bills are 12th on defense, Miami's 18th on defense on my numbers. The Bills have won 11 of the past 12 in Buffalo, and the only loss was in overtime. Bills' average margin of victory is 14 points in those games. Miami were actually a favourite 2 years ago going into Buffalo in Week 17 for the playoffs on the line. Bills had nothing to play for. Tua threw 3 picks. Bills hung 56 on Miami. The Bills are still a better team as far as I'm concerned, and yes, I wish Miami saved the 70 for this week.
Yeah, no, you got to consider consider who they played. I mean, the Broncos obviously have their issues.
And we will get to those issues.
Yeah, it's still impressive what Miami did. Anytime you can tack on 70 against an NFL team, I don't care who it is, it's definitely impressive. But yeah, the Bills are still viewed as superior. The line didn't move. The total moved in relation to the Dolphins putting up 70, but the spread was pretty much the same. From 3 to 2.5, it's around there. So. That just shows you how much respect people have for the Bills. I mean, they've earned it. Played well the second and third week after the loss to the Jets. Should be 3-0, you could say. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But their defense looks strong. But last year these teams, in Buffalo, it's plus 60 points, over 60 points in both games. So we'll see if that's on the cards again for this week. But look, all eyes are going to be on Miami. They're nowhere going to replicate that. But anything can happen in the NFL. You see something one week, the opposite happens the next week. So you could easily see the Dolphins, being held in the teens. It wouldn't surprise me in the least bit.
If you had a chance to break the scoring record, would you?
That was my next question.
I would. I mean, look, I'm one who likes the sportsmanship aspect of things, but this is the NFL. Look, these players are paid a lot of money. I wouldn't have been hurt or been upset or thought that was a bad thing to do if they would have gone for the record. In my opinion, yeah, I would say go for it. It's not high school. It's not Pop Warner football. These are grown men, and look, if you don't want them to score 70, then stop them.
That's what I mean. Like, if you're running it up to 70, like, stopping there, is that sportsmanship? Like, I feel like just keep going at that point.
You're paid to stop us, so if you can't stop us, be on yourself.
I mean, they're not supposed to take knees in the beginning of the fourth quarter. I mean, you're putting your backups in; they want to play. So yeah, if you don't want to give that up, stop them, play some defense. So yeah, I would have no issue with that.
It was quite funny in the office this weekend when you watch a former Jets quarterback and a former Jets receiver go for a 70-yard bomb and connect on a touchdown.
Yeah,
and then now all the Jets
fans
fans are thinking,
in here too.
why haven't we got Mike White still?
All right. Let's move on to Super Bowl odds. Can anyone break down Miami's Super Bowl odds? Did they shift? Did they change?
8-1 from 14-1. Tua went 3-1 from 11-2 for MVP. And McDaniel's the heavy favourite now, plus 225 for Coach of the Year. But again, we mentioned that the media drives a lot of wagers on some of these markets. Miami were the darling week 1. Dallas was the darling week last week. Miami now. And we've seen it with the Colorado Buffaloes. So there's always going to be above and beyond interest when you're constantly on the media. Now here's another question for you. I'm stealing all your questions today. If you're the 72 Dolphins and Miami are the last unbeaten team, do you cheer for them to lose?
Probably.
I bet you they do.
100% they do.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for so long. It's going to be hard for them to break that.
You think they'll do it again?
But perfect. No team
No.
ever go perfect
No.
ever again.
Never?
No,
It's too hard.
too hard.
Yeah, the Patriots broke my heart with that one. So, does anyone know what the opposite of the game of the week is?
Yeah.
Craig?
It's got to be the Bears and the Broncos.
You are correct. Can we preview this week's matchup between the Broncos and the Bears? Both teams are 0-3 and are coming off, let's just say, embarrassing losses.
Do we have to preview it? We will. Go ahead. We will.
I think this sets an attendance record, this game.
Really?
I think it will be the most ever friends and family to attend an NFL game. No, you're not joking aside. The Broncos are only actually 3 points away from being a 2-1 team. They lost by 1 and they lost by 2. The Broncos and the Bears got blown out by
And then they
quality
lost by 50.
opponents, in all fairness. So the money did come for Denver. We have seen some sharp action for it. Going back to the mention earlier with Joey in Colorado coming off a bad loss, how teams look for that bounce back, or at least play harder against the opposition. But it's tough to find who's coming back off this. It was both embarrassing for both teams.
Yeah, Justin Fields really kind of offensive
regressed.
struggles.
Yeah.
He came on late last year, so I'm not throwing the Bears out. My brother's a big Bears fan, so I'm not gonna, harp on them too bad. But yeah, I mean, one thing I know for sure is this game won't be on my television on Sunday morning.
You're skipping it?
Yeah.
They should play it at half time of the Jacksonville Atlanta game with like 4 3-minute quarters.
Yeah, they probably should.
Demoted.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know what to think of this game. Yeah, obviously, I think that Craig said is that Denver should have an inspired effort. They opened 2.5, they went to 3.5. It's hard to believe a team that gave up 70 is a road favorite the next week. But again, that shows you the NFL how crazy it is from week to week. And I say a lot. Usually, the team that looks the worst the next week, they surprise everyone. So, but yeah, it's like how do you pick either team? I don't know. It's might be one of the least handled games, if not the least handled game of the week.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll talk about this next week, but let's not forget, I believe Broncos play the Jets next week, and they were talking a lot prior to the start of the season, so both teams are not looking good. So we do have a product question here that I want to get to real fast. The Caesars Sportsbook app has anytime TD odds for defensive players. Can you guys explain how that works?
Yeah, anytime touchdown refers to a player crossing the goal line with the ball or receiving the ball in the end zone. So a scoop and score could get you there if you're a defensive player. A pick six could get you there. William Perry going into the end zone as a fullback could get you there if you're a defensive player. But yeah, that's basically what an anytime touchdown. A lot of the times we get questions of, someone will bet on a quarterback anytime touchdown thinking that if they pass the ball, they'll get in. No, but I mean, Jalen Hurts seems to be going in every week with a touchdown as the quarterback. So yeah, the anytime touchdown refers to someone breaking the plane with the ball to a touchdown or catching it in the end zone. That scoring a touchdown that way, basically.
Yeah, but you get rewarded with some nice odds if you can pick the defensive player and they score the first touchdown. And it's happened a couple of times so far this year. So, it's possible, and you do get rewarded for it. But, yeah, like Joey said, that's one of the biggest questions we get is people who bet on quarterbacks. And it's easy to see, you can see Patrick Mahomes to get 2 touchdowns. Oh, great, but they have to be rushing touchdowns.
Right.
Or a receiving touchdown if that would occur.
Yeah.
But that's a common misconception. So you have to be the one to catch the ball in the end zone or run the ball in the end zone.
Easy.
And if you are betting them, look for players that are lining up against Stafford, Carr, Winston, Dalton or Goff who've thrown 45 pick sixes in 5 years. But the 2 defending leaders, Darius Slay and Minka Fitzpatrick in that time frame, they get to go up against Stafford in week 5 and week 7 respectively. So there could be some value there.
Love it. Heard it here first from our very own Craig. Where does the Cowboys' loss to the Cardinals rank all-time upsets?
It's not surprising. 57 double-digit road favourites in the last 5 years. 14 have actually lost straight up. Arizona have clearly punched above their weight the first 2 weeks. When we were talking about surprises the other week, they were not on my list because they did what we thought they were. The biggest upsets, the Jags beat the Bills as a 16-point home dog, 9-6 in a thriller in 2018. But the most surprising was last year the Bucs lost back-to-back weeks as double-digit road favourites. Dogs are 30, 26 and 1 against the spread the same time frame.
Yeah, no, it's surprising and not surprising at the same time. I think, look, Dallas had the great start. Everybody thought so much of them, and it seemed like just a matter of just showing up and they'll beat Arizona. It's not what happened. Jonathan Gannon had a good game plan. They ran the ball down their throats. He's a former Eagles defensive coordinator, so very familiar with the Cowboys. And Dobbs didn't make any mistakes. So, every team's capable. The NFL, say it week after week, you have surprising results all the time. This is definitely a surprise, not a shock. But, there's a lot of people didn't see this coming just because we said the Cardinals, they were expected to be the worst team by far this year. They've definitely punched above their weight. Could easily be 3-0, as weird as that sounds. But, it's surprising, but not surprising at the same time. But you just can't take a week off in the NFL. There's no gimmies in this league.
Good point.
And we were talking Dallas's MVP chances for Dak and Micah Parsons last week.
Yeah.
And it goes back again. The media darlings all week. Maybe they're watching their own YouTube channels.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, well, last week we saw a lot of injuries, specifically to quarterbacks. There's a lot of question marks heading into the weekend. Are you guys ready to play hypotheticals?
Yeah.
Hypotheticals.
All right. What is the difference in point spread if Jameis is QB versus Derek Carr?
I got 1.5 points, but really the lack of offensibility for the Saints is really what is shown. It may be less because Derek Carr really hasn't got it going yet. I think, overall, I think Derek Carr is 1.5, 2 points better than Jameis, but does that reflect in the spread? Maybe not because he hasn't got it going yet. And Jameis has been with the Saints for a couple of years. He's familiar with the system, so maybe that isn't reflected in the line. But I'd say if we're going to go heads up quarterback wise, I think Derek Carr is 1.5, 2 points better.
I had 0, only because both of them are turnover prone.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think much either. I mean, Winston's a veteran. Carr's obviously had a rough year last year, and the Saints are just a defensive team. They're not gonna wow you offensively. They get Kamara back this week, so that should help. But yeah, in my mind, not much difference between the two. Not that maybe Carr a few years ago would have been a bigger difference, but right now, don't think there's much between the two.
Got it. All right. What is the difference in odds for Bryce Young starting at QB versus Andy Dalton?
Well, apparently it's definitely something, and it looks like Dalton's has the higher value. It came out today that Bryce Young was a full participant in practice. The line went up to 3.5 to 4 for Minnesota. So that shows you maybe that people don't view Bryce Young as good as Dalton. But look, Dalton had a great game last week. Threw for over 360 yards, a couple of touchdowns, even though they lost. Guy's been around for a while. And Bryce Young is a rookie. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how long they go with Bryce Young. Look, you draft a guy number 1, you got to stick with him. You would think, play him, and he's got to learn as he goes. But if you have a guy like Dalton playing well, maybe Dalton plays this week, has another good performance. What do they do when Bryce Young's ready to come back? That's a tough decision to make. You're thinking of the future, or you're thinking of the now. So,
right.
But yeah, in my mind, I think Dalton's like a half or 1 point better than Bryce Young is at this point.
We agree on 2. I had a point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Has this ever happened before?
No, and we'll put an end to it pretty quick. The experience for me with Dalton, and you're throwing Bryce Young into a situation where the team's not great. It's only, he's new to the league. It's a completely different speed the league is. You're not on a loaded Alabama team. It's tougher. So there's added pressures on a young quarterback. And judging by the line move, Adam and myself might be right for once.
Yeah.
I just think it was smart of Frank Reich to bring in Andy Dalton for that first year of Bryce Young. He's a journeyman quarterback, and what maybe Andy Dalton lacks in physical ability, he makes up with that experience. So, yeah, I'd say about a point difference, about the same.
Awesome. You guys made a good point in the 2 previous examples. They both have experienced backup quarterbacks. So how about we flip it to Jimmy G, who has his backup quarterback. What would the odds be, odds difference be Jimmy G versus Aiden O'Connell, who you guys might not know this, but our camera guy Salad, loves this guy. I don't know much about him, but you guys tell me.
Aiden O'Connell, quarterback for Purdue. I had 3 points worse than Jimmy G. There's really, he didn't show much in preseason to show that he's going to be the guy. Obviously, they didn't go with him to start the season with having Jimmy G. But one thing I noticed is that those quarterbacks that you don't have much film on, or it's harder to prepare for, and they usually have more success, and you don't know how they're gonna game plan for the kid.
Good point.
I thought it was regression from Derek Carr to Jimmy G, because career-wise Jimmy G turns over the ball more than Derek Carr, and this year 6.5% of Jimmy G's passes have been picked off. It should be Jimmy T, not Jimmy G.
New nickname alert.
Yeah, no, O'Connell, actually his numbers are pretty good in the preseason. That's what got everybody so excited. But again, preseason, that's nothing, it's 0 to do with what happened in the preseason to what's going to happen in the regular season. They got Hoyer as well. Is he, who is the backup? So obviously if it's Hoyer, it's in my mind maybe 1.5 to 2 points, maybe another point if it's O'Connell, in my opinion. But yeah, Jimmy G is not, he's okay, but he's not. He doesn't wow you with his stats. He's not going to throw for just a ton of yards. He's He's more of a game manager, in my opinion. So I don't have the value of him as being that much greater than his backups. I mean, it's not like it's a 6-point difference or an extreme point difference with Jimmy G. But we'll see how he does. But he did have some rough. He's playing with a concussion, so he did have a rough interception at the end of the game. So I'll say Hoyer maybe 1.5 to 2, and O'Connell probably 3.
Yeah, I always forget about Hoyer. I like him. He was in New England for some time.
Would you have kicked the field goal or gone for the touchdown on fourth down?
That was one of the worst decisions I've seen. I mean,
He's catching heat.
That was pretty bad.
He deserves it. I mean, look, he knows more about football maybe than
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, I've never played. Hard to believe, but it's it was mind-boggling. It really was. I mean, you're inside the 10-yard line. It's not 4th and goal from the 25 if you've taken penalties or you got sacked. You're at the 6-yard line. It made zero sense.
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears to another AFC West team who has quite the week on social thanks to their tight end. It looks like the prime effect, Joey, has officially turned into the Taylor Swift effect. Craig, cough, cough. The Taylor Swift effect. Travis Kelce merch sales skyrocketed plus 400%. He gained about 325,000 new Instagram followers over the past week, and StubHub said ticket sales for Chief home games increased 3 times the amount as days prior. Any notable increase in handle for the Chiefs or Travis Kelce?
We see enough money on Travis Kelce for any time touchdown score on a regular basis, thank you. So we could have done without the added attention. He's always a loser. He's always the most popular anytime touchdown scorer. So yeah, I would love to know what Oregon's head coach thinks of this. But we'll see. It's good for business, isn't it? Because somebody's got a movie coming out on October the 13th, and somebody's merch sales have just gone up, so somebody knows what they're doing.
Smart.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying Taylor Swift put Travis Kelce on the map. You're saying he's been on the map.
He's been on the map if you're a footballer, but I thought her favourite number was 13, not 87.
See, I don't know anything about Taylor Swift, but
So
I
I do.
believe anything you say because you are the Swiftie here.
My daughter, she's a Swiftie, and she knew where Taylor Swift was on Sunday. Although she's not, she's still sticking as an Eagles fan, not switching to the Chiefs, so that's good. I said you got the other Kelce in your corner.
Very true.
Yeah,
Keep it in the fan.
that's right. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a Sunday night game. Obviously, it's going to get a ton of action. Regardless, we'll see how the Swift effect, if that materializes to anything. But it's going to draw action just because it's a Sunday night game and it's the Chiefs. And like Craig said, Kelce, he gets money every week. He's one of the most popular bet-on players every week, regardless. So maybe we'll see if there's a difference between last week and this week based. Maybe we got some Swifties who are going to be regular sports bettors. Who knows? We'll see.
Welcome to New York.
Very true. We might have to, not our usual demo, but we might have to thank Taylor if we see a change. Okay, we have a question about the Ryder Cup. Can you preview that for us, Adam?
Yeah, Ryder Cup, in my opinion, one of the greatest sporting events there is. Happens every few years. Battle between the players from the United States and Europe. It's being played in Rome this year, so the timing is not that great for betting. It's going to happen, at least start in the wee hours of the morning. So that might hinder some action. But right now, the U.S. is a small favorite. They're the current holders. A couple of years ago, they dominated the European team. It was 19-9, Whistling Straits. But the U.S. team, they haven't won on European soil since, I think, 1993 or so. So it's not going to be an easy task. But as far as the drama goes, pure sporting entertainment, you can't get much better. I don't know if people watch the Solheim Cup, which is the ladies' version of the Ryder Cup, which happened last week. Tremendous amount of drama on that final day. But yeah, U.S. is a small favorite. I expect we're going to take, obviously, more money on the U.S. in Europe. They have the bigger names, although there's plenty of big names on Europe. John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland, FedEx Cup winner. So plenty of name recognition and just the drama of it. We're going to be doing in-play on every match and in match play format. It's very exciting. The betting, is quite exciting. Goes huge shifts from hole to hole and shot to shot. So, that's one event that I'll get up early to watch. I'm not a big golfer myself personally, but I do like watching the Ryder Cup. It's just because it's just gripping entertainment. So, but we'll see. Like I said, the action is going to be a little less than before just because of the time. So, but one thing to note, there's a three-way betting option. There's USA, Europe, and there's a tie. Only reason I mention it because last week we talked about the Solheim Cup. It ended up in a tie, so you have to be aware there's a couple different ways to bet it. You have to lift the trophy. If it ends in a tie, the U.S. will retain the cup, so the U.S. would be a winner in that market. But if you bet the three-way option, Europe, USA, or the tie, if it's a tie, the tie's juicy. It's like 11-1 odds. Paid off last week in the Solheim Cup, so we'll see what happens this week. But as far as I'm concerned, like I said, one of the best sporting events there is. It's great entertainment. So even if you don't like golf, if you're not and you like drama, you'll get plenty of drama.
Well, I love drama, so love it, and I love your passion for it, Adam.
I haven't seen anybody that
excited.
excited about
Yeah, he was really excited.
The last person I saw that excited is when I played Joey a few weeks back.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one.
Okay, well.
If you want to fly me to Rome, I'll go take it in myself. I love it.
Patrick Everson at Fox Sports asks, who are the more notable sharp sides so far this week on the spread? And this kind of works well with a new segment we're introducing today, which is Notable Bets of the Week. This can be any of your guys' wildest fun stats that you have. So, Craig, I'm going to start with you.
All right, so a lot of the sharps have played the Packers plus the points. The Bills -2.5, no surprise from what we discussed earlier. Over the points in the Rams and Colts, under the points in Baltimore, Cleveland. But the sharpest of the sharps are on Washington, Arizona, under 69 in the college game on Saturday, who I highly respect.
Okay, I like that play. I went to NFL and on the college.
That's not my pick.
That's not your
I'm just telling you the sharpest of the sharps are on there.
All right. It sounded like it might have been your pick.
I don't pick winners.
That's very true.
That's obvious from this segment, at least for me, the first 3 weeks. You want to start? Give your prediction?
Yeah, I went to the NFL. I'm taking the Ravens this week. Bounce back week, divisional opponent with the Browns. I'm believing Lamar Jackson's going to get this offensive going. Give me the Ravens +3.
Well, like I said, 0-3 so far, so it's just as valuable, going against someone as fading someone is betting on them. So if you want to fade away, I'm going with the Saints this week, -3. Should have won last week, had that collapse in the fourth quarter, thinking they bounce back. Like I said, they're a defensive team. They get Kamara back. We'll see if Tampa can rebound from the Eagles' loss on Monday night. But I'm going to go with the Saints. I usually don't like betting favorites, but why not this week? We'll try something new.
Why not?
Bills, Dolphins, first half under, but wait until game day because all the hype of the points that got scored, that number keeps going up and up and up and up. There's 27 available right now. I mean, it might touch 27.5, but that's the bet for me.
That's the bet.
I like that a lot.
A lot. More than any of the other unders you've ever
All the other
given us.
losers. Yeah, I like it.
All right, awesome. I'm giving Broncos getting their first win.
It's a sharp bet.
Yeah. That's what they call me, a sharp bettor.
Yep.
All right, it looks like we're just about out of time. Thank you everyone who joined and submitted questions for our Talk with the Traders. Thank you, Craig, Adam, Joey. If you don't already, please toss us a follow at Caesar Sports on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. We are also on Facebook, and this entire conversation will be uploaded to our YouTube channel tomorrow, so feel free to give us a follow and listen there. We hope you guys have a lovely weekend watching all these anticipated matchups. Guys, anything you want to say?
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck.
Yeah, enjoy the golf.
All right.
I will.